Minnesota State Fair is known for its unique foods and fun attractions, but it's also a place for people to learn more about the state. Valley News Team's Quinn Gorham explains.
Between the pickle pizza and the deep fried ranch, you can always find something interesting at the Minnesota State Fair. That includes your local lawmakers. Each year, legislators from around the state head to the fair hoping to hear from constituents about what matters most to them. Nestled inside the Education Building, the Minnesota Senate booth has hosted state senators from across the state at the fair for years. The booth holds a poll where Minnesotans can give their opinion on certain issues, but also gives people a chance to talk with their politicians. Wednesday's guests included Senate Minority Leader Mark Johnson and Senator John Marty. The two represent different political parties on the Senate floor, but their interest in the Great Minnesota Get-Together is a common thread. Both say the forum gives them an opportunity to talk with real people in a casual environment, getting valuable insight that they can then take back to the Senate floor with them later that year.
You know, you get at the Capitol, you get this real echo chamber of issues, ideas, problems. But you come out here, and these are people that are coming, and maybe they've got their corn dog, and they got their bag of cookies, whatever, and they're like, oh, what do you think about this? Really off-the-cuff kind of conversations.
Senators Johnson and Marty said they heard about taxes, healthcare, and more at the fair on Wednesday. Partisanship is largely out the window at the legislative booths, but elsewhere at the Minnesota Fair, the 2024 election has taken center stage. The Minnesota DFL booth, for instance, announced an attendance record earlier this week, off the heels of Governor Walz's vice presidential run. Reporting in St. Paul, I'm Quinn Gorham.